Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Divine Feminine Ascension Council. I am Wendy Liu, and I'm here with Bianca and Eartha Vega. Today, we're talking about relationships in 5D, and I'm going to kick it off by asking, how is this manifesting in your life? How are you transitioning relationships in your life from 3D to 5D? So whoever wants to start the conversation, let's just dive right in. Or I will.
Well, I think that, thank you, Wendy, for the introduction. And I think that, I guess the biggest difference between a 3D relationship and a 5D relationship to me is the moment to moment conscious decision that you are creating this reality and that you are a sovereign being and you are in control of what is happening to you. You're always the only person that's in control of what is happening to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nobody is doing anything to me. I'm not a victim. I can't be blamed for things, right? And so, and that, that is the difference that we want to be. That's where we want to be. But again, it's, we're transitioning. So you jump into that a lot of, when you are triggered by something in your relationship, whether it's 3D or 5D, the first thing you do is whatever reaction you were conditioned to do by your energetic field, right? Like by past trauma, past life trauma, it could be anything, like that. And so then whatever that response is, that's the conditioned response, and that's the response that you're giving. We're Pavlov's dogs, right? And then we have to break that cycle.
And it's super duper easy, right? So easy.
It's just so easy. I've just told you guys what to do. So now just do it.
Thank you. And that concludes our discussion. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Voila, magic wand. But yes, because I run into that, I have all kinds of times where it's immediately, I'm like, oh, somebody's attacking me. I am being attacked by this person, or this person's trying to control me. My thing is control. So I'm a 5 life path, adventure, freedom. My whole entire life I've been wanting to be the only person, wanting to be free, wanting to feel free. And when I finally woke up and realized that I can feel free in any moment, that was what I went through last year at the demise of my old relationship. So now I'm in this new relationship, and but the demise part of it was me saying I am free and I can be free at any time.
Absolutely.
And you have to learn that, I think, as your own person before you can enter a 5D relationship, because that is what gives you the strength to flip the script, the courage to flip the script and not to go back to I'm a victim, I'm being blamed, this is happening to me, but to remember I'm sovereign, I am free. And that's not easy either, right? So you have to learn. I feel like you have to learn that for yourself.
It's self-worth, right? I mean,
for everything,
we don't think we deserve to be sovereign, right? We deserve to be victims. And yeah, definitely. And, they talk about too, there's so much, everybody's heard the stories of the people, people who've been imprisoned, right, in the darkness and still find their light within and don't let it, it doesn't break them down. They figure out how to find their center anyway, even when they're underfed and get no sunlight. And, yes, these things are all beautiful and we're trying to get, soak up as much, sunlight and nature as we can, but people have done it without any of that. And so and I think a lot of times when we can't, when we feel like, okay, I know that I'm done with this situation that I'm in, why am I still here? Maybe that's kind of the last thing to learn, right? Because if we know, the three of us know, we've been doing this long enough, that if you're still in a situation, then you're not done with it. There's something there still for you. And so maybe that's really the only thing that's left is if you've cut all the other cords, then maybe now the universe is asking you, okay, now find your light within, in the darkness, in this situation that you're in. It doesn't need to be, you don't have to be, we're not going to find our light once we've, let go of all these toxic relationships, blah, blah. The finding the light is the process that happens at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge, is the sovereignty.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of, I wasn't actually, thank you for that, because that was,
I mean, you were spot on. I was just piggybacking. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Yeah. No, it's good though. But to be like, because nothing's ever final, right? Like there's steps, but those steps continue and then they repeat and then they double up and then they piggyback and right. And it's this swirling staircase. Vortex. Yeah.
When you're starting to step into your own sovereignty and you're rediscovering your light, you are looking at the facets of the relationship, all the facets of relationship in a new light. So you're really looking at, where have I created codependency? Have I created codependency? Is this, as I'm awakening, am I still growing in the relationship and from the relationship, or am I growing as an individual and the relationship is not giving me any of these growth opportunities? Because I feel like the 3D relationships have been a tough, more or less a battleground where we are really finding our own, points of growth. And they were quite harsh sometimes, right? And they were, for a lot of us, were triggers towards the awakening process.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And we had to be in that warrior energy, right? The more kind of battle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, I feel like with transitioning towards 5D relationships, it's more of looking at the aspect of the own evolutionary journey of each partner and the evolution journey of the relationship. And if there is no growth, no evolution in the relationship, then why am I in this relationship?
Right. Yeah. And
right?
Love, they used to say, I used to watch all the rom-coms, right? All the Hallmark movies, used to be, used to kind of hit me hard, and you realize that the messages are all, that they're incomplete without this other person, or they're, it's just kind of, it's a very disempowering energy that we are leaving. And so, like Eartha was saying, the transition is not easy. Transition is, we're literally having some things ripped from our grasp because we don't know anything else. We don't want them to go. We don't know, even though we know that it's bad for us, we don't know who will be without it. Right. And so we don't even really know that we're holding on for dear life a lot of times. And so there are times where our guides and the universe and the cosmos and, whatever word you want to use, there are times where they are given permission to tear it away from us because we just cannot seem to, open our hands all by ourselves. And so they're allowed to every once in a while just to keep us moving forward. And and the 5D relationships are really, like for me personally, I can share really quick, my husband and I are dissolving our 3D relationship. Now we both know that doesn't, and we're kind of, it surprised me more than anybody, but, cause I went through a time where I just thought I had to be done with it. Well, finding out that I was done really catapulted him forward on his path, like overnight almost. And all of a sudden he's coming to me saying all these amazing things. And I'm like, wait a minute, like I did not expect you to move that fast. And now I'm hearing things that's what I want to hear, right? That he's getting what's going on. And so now we're kind of in a place like we're trying to just live in the present, allowing the energies to kind of show us what this is going to be with no expectations. So we know that it doesn't necessarily mean that we're done or that we're not done, right? We're not trying to save our marriage anymore is the big thing. And because that's where he was at, right? He was there for so long, just trying to hold on to everything and trying to come along on this ascension journey on my coattails versus doing his own work. Right. Well, then when he started doing his own work, I was like, oh, okay. like, this is different now. All of a sudden our relationship shifted big time. And again, we both are very aware that it doesn't mean anything, right? We're just trying to, we are going to have, like Eartha knows very well too, we're going to have a relationship because we have kids. We are always going to be a family. And so whatever that will look like in the 5D is kind of what we're trying to just allow versus force. That's the difference between the 3D and the 5D, right? For me anyway, it's coming through as how many of us grew up with the mentality of, well, you don't just walk away, you make a marriage work, right? You force that square peg into the round hole. And a lot of people did it. And don't regret it, right? And had beautiful lives with these people. That worked in the 3D. It doesn't work anymore. We have to do a lot more allowing and surrendering and allowing the other person their journey as well. And whatever that means. And if we're triggering each other, then great. Absolutely fabulous. But then we're triggering each other for growth, because that's just more supercharged, ascension energy. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but it's painful. It's painful at times.
Yeah. And even, like, as we were talking, Wendy, I was even imagining that we're redefining the word family as well, completely, because family consists of mom and dad and children, right? But what if you are in a situation which you're at, Wendy, you're a family, and then you meet someone, or your ex-partner meets someone? Is this person then considered part of your family as well? Or what does it even mean?
Right.
What does the word family even mean? How is that reshifting? And it's definitely shifting and reshaping. It's recreating as we're recreating the term partnership. Because where I'm at, when you're in a partner, like you have a partner, then you have someone who you can do lots of things with. And when you're in a certain age, then many have partners and children, and they're not available to do something with, let's say, a single person, right? That is a friend, for example, that's just a tag on then. So you kind of have a partner so that you can do things. So we're just shifting this as well. I mean, we're coming together in completely new formations now, where we're letting go of a lot of the labels that we had, right?
Absolutely.
So even that term family, how does it look like in 5D?
And why are we ultimately doing it, right? And the answer is, I think, is because we have to break down these paradigms of what it means to be female, what it means to be feminine.
Oh God, absolutely.
Because that is what we are here to do, right? We're here to transmute this energy of codependency, of what it means to be a partner, of hierarchy in relationships, right? Like, the man says this and then the woman does that, and or vice versa. I mean, there's a lot of women-led partnerships right now, women-led, if you want to say, or something. But what are these women doing? They're using their masculine. But they're doing it out of a masculine energy. They're not leading out of a feminine energy. Because we have no fucking clue how to do that. How do you lead out of feminine energy?
Well, because we've been suppressed, and I don't think anybody can argue the fact that we have been suppressed for generations and generations. So we don't know how. We don't know how to do it. And so you're right. You're absolutely right. And coming from a background of being in the military, and you too, Eartha, being in a kind of a man's field of being a scientist, which is still kind of male dominated, right? Is we had to go into our masculine to survive being in those environments. We couldn't be women. We weren't allowed to be women.
No. Yeah. So we were very much taught. And what was so strange about, I think definitely for me, and I think probably for you, Wendy, is that but then at home, well, no, I guess, I mean, I used my masculine energy at home as well to run my household. Right.
Me too.
And so it's just weird to think, but I used my feminine. It's like I would have a balance, but it always felt like in my 3D relationship, it always felt like I had to be masculine in order to get my point across. Or, it was always a competition between my husband and I. It was it was like a hierarchy competition almost. It wasn't like, we weren't like out and out, you know, well, we did out and out compete with each other in several things because we went to school together, right? So we have the same degree and stuff, but like just in anything, it was always a competition. And it was always, you know, and I always felt like I had to meet him with masculine energy. Like if I was having an argument with him, I would have to meet him with masculine energy. When I have an argument in my 5D relationship, because now, you know, my husband and I are separated, we're getting a divorce. We, you know, have been for a year now. It's been a year now. It's crazy. And I'm in this new relationship, and I find actually by consciously practicing being feminine and answering a masculine kind of challenge or whatever, like if something comes up between us, answering it in a feminine way is 100,000 times better. Like it just works. It just smooths everything like butter. It is so amazing. It's like magic. And then it feels better to me because it feels like it's actually what I want to say, you know, rather than like putting up some kind of a shield in front of myself.
Yeah. And the feminine response is a lot softer, and it's more from the heart. And you know, it's not only that you've found a lot of your sovereignty, but it's that the partner, the 5D partner, allows the feminine to come through versus, you know, the other. Yeah. Versus forcing us to, you know, and my husband and I've had that conversation a lot. We were both military, and he outranked me from the minute. I mean, we met in college in ROTC, and he outranked me from the minute we met. And, you know, it was maybe not conscious, but in our minds, there was always something saying his career was more important, which translated to he was more important. And that's how we have operated. Mm-hmm. That's the energy we've operated under. And I thought, you know, and I had resigned myself. I'm like, you know what, this is where I'm at. I'm fine with it. Right. Like, what could I do? We had kids. Right. And I like the guy. Right. And I love him.
Yeah.
And so you justify it in your mind. Well, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. When the kids are gone, then I'll get my life. Right. And it just is, it becomes a daily struggle to get through then. And then I just completely shut down, you know, for most of my marriage. I just was kind of in, like, I was in a very masculine energy.
You know, it's like the difference between functioning and really thriving, right? I think that's word as well to describe 3D versus 5D relationships.
Right.
Because in 3D relationships, you often just function because you're stuck in your role of masculinity or femininity. And it can be, as I use that, Eartha, the opposite. You know, we're talking about masculine and feminine energies. It doesn't mean we're talking that the feminine energy always comes from the woman.
True.
Versus in 5D relationship, we're looking at thriving, and we're looking at having conversations where, as you said, Eartha, everyone is aware when something that is triggered, you know, is happening within me. If I'm triggered, I look at what's happening, and I'm not blaming the other person for triggering me. I'm actually thanking the other person, because the other person is loving enough to put that right in front of me so I can thrive, right? They're not putting it, because arguments in 3D are often to put the other person down, you know, to feel better than the other person somehow, or to win an argument. And I feel in 5D, it can be that there is, you know, there will be arguments as well. However, I feel they're coming more of a space of love to help the other person thrive.
Right. On some level, anyway, right.
To win an argument.
Even if it's just the soul level, but, you know, and I found too that a lot of times, you know, we all go through that phase of, oh no, I just want to be love and light and respond to everybody with love and light. And honestly, sometimes the person you're responding to needs to be spoken harshly to. Sometimes that's what they need. Sometimes they need to hear, you know, fuck you. Sometimes they need to hear, you know, the words in a not so loving way. That's something that I've really come into, because I was always this kind of nice person, right? When really underneath I was just a resentful, miserable person, but I still felt like, oh, well, you have to be nice to everybody, right? You have to, whatever. And now I'm just like, no, you know what? And the light worker, you know, if you resonate with the term light worker, way shower, wanderer, whatever we want to use, you know, the mantra kind of is do no harm, but take no shit. We're not here to take on other people's traumas, right? But we are here, and the more I think you guys will both agree, the more I advance in my gifts and my abilities and step into my power, I realize the more I'm triggering people. And if I had realized this like 6 months ago, that would have really upset me. But now I'm like, okay, let's do this. I guess I'm going to trigger people. So, I thought, about a year ago that I started losing friends, and family like 8 years ago when I first had my awakening and started to see things in a different way. They thought I'd lost my mind, right? Well, now I think it's going to be there might be a mass exodus of friends and family now that we're really stepping into it. Like, okay, because now it's do or die for us, right? And it's and they're either going to follow or they're going to completely fall away.
Loving service.
But you're shedding that though, Wendy. So
absolutely. Yeah. And now it's kind of like, okay, good. And not that I get on like social media, thinking, okay, who can I trigger today? That's a negative, that's a low vibe 3D energy too. But I'm like, I'm just going to share my raw truth, and whoever gets triggered gets triggered. And you know what? We are allowed to unfriend and unfollow and block and whatever we need to do people, because again, take no shit. We don't have to put up with that. In the 5D, we can surround ourselves with people who... And say that again, Bianca. I think I talked on top of you.
And it's the same with romantic relationships.
Yes.
This take no shit, right? We talked about how often we cling on to relationships because we're afraid of losing them. So we take all that shit, right? We're the ones that are always keeping quiet. It's being yourself and expressing yourself truly in a relationship, romantic relationship, even if it may trigger the other person. And even important. If it may result in an argument, even if it may result in a breakup, it's being always true to yourself. It's aligning your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And I'm still working on it, right? We're all still working on it. Not that we're anywhere ahead. And it's being aware.
I've developed a little trick that I play on myself where it's like a check. And so I say to myself, like when you're meditating, when you're in your state, like even if you're not at the stage yet, where you're listening and talking to your guides, but you're just sitting quietly and you're thinking about how you feel, right? Your innermost feelings. Think about am I okay getting up and walking away from this person right now and leaving and never seeing them again? Am I okay with that? And if the answer is yes, then you're still okay. You're still your own sovereign.
Yeah, you haven't formed new attachments.
No.
Right.
If the answer is no, you're forming a codependency again, because you don't need anybody. You do not need anyone.
Yeah,
the
connections are inevitable, right? The connections are inevitable, and a romantic connection, they're fleeting. They come and go, and they're with typically one person at a time, right? Where the other soul connections are hundreds of people, and that's what we're going to, and that's really, like I always say, the sovereignty, the going within, and again, finding our light within the darkness, whatever our situation is the whole point. The connections are kind of the adventure, right? They're part of the adventure. They're part of the good stuff. But we don't need that. You're right. We don't necessarily need that. I mean, look at the people whose missions, right? I always like to bring up the Tibetan monks, right? In the caves, who literally their entire mission from the time they're teenagers, when they take on this role, is to sit in a cave and keep the vibration of the planet high enough so that we don't destroy each other and completely destroy ourselves.
Right.
And they've done it. People are like, oh, well, what's the point of that? And I used to be one of those people. I used to be like, well, who are they helping?
Yeah.
Who are they helping? They're not connecting with anybody, but they're keeping the vibration high because they have zero connections. Zero connections with other people on this plane. They're just completely within themselves and finding that 0 point. So but the connections are the fun part. The relationships are the fun part.
And I guess it comes back to the difference between needing and choosing to. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So do I need to be in a relationship because I'm lacking something else? I'm lacking someone to do something with me. I'm lacking money. I'm lacking this and that. Or does it come out of the energy of I choose to be with this person?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
need to be. Yeah. And for me, it was always, I'm too afraid to, didn't know how I would survive on my own. I didn't know
Yeah.
how to survive on my own.
And we've got this mutual friend now, all of us, who is also a divine feminine, and woo-hoo, she might be listening now, and shout out to her. And she's going through, you know, the crack, right? The shock of the stripping away of the relationship right now. And I hear her use these words like loss. I'm losing. I've lost this. I've failed at this. And there is no loss and there is no failure, you know, when relationships end, because they're just, it's just energy shifting. That's all it is. And I mean, I know that's hard to say when you're
right. It's hard to hear, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's so true.
It's easy for me to say that. But a year ago, I was saying things like I've lost and I've failed, and
because that's the term they use, right? A failed marriage. When you get divorced, you have a failed marriage, right? Well, we need to shift that, because that was the very 3D thinking.
Marriage altogether.
Agreed.
Because marriage meant you're going to be together for the rest of your life. You know, it meant it previously. It meant it from my grandparents, from my parents. You promised each other that you were going to love each other and stay together for the rest of your life until death sets you apart, right? We're shifting the concept of marriage. Right.
Agreed.
There may be still marriage. It doesn't mean that we're not marrying. Sure. It may just be that we are promising to do our best in the relationship, to evolve for each other, with each other, and to recognize what we can learn, what we can grow, and to also recognize the moment when it's time to move on. Right?
Yes.
Doesn't mean that we're not going to get married. It means that we're not promising until the rest of this lifetime anymore. Right. That's how I feel about it, at least.
Agreed. And this whole legal aspect of it too, I feel like well, in my personal opinion, like, I don't think the government should have anything to do with our, you know, with our like romantic connections or whatever. But, you know, right now the reality is they make money off of it. Right. But, you know, I feel like that's going to fall away with all this old 3D stuff too. And as we come into the 5D and like, we all have a friend who they got married, but they did it their own way. Right. And it was outside, and it was like, I don't even in the forest. And it was just this beautiful, that's what I see. Like,
that was me.
Marriages.
You have this friend that did that.
You did that too?
Well, except for that. Yeah. Who married me? Wendy, you know her.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Asia Love married me.
That's right.
She wasn't anything, but I mean, we did get a legal document though. So I know what you're saying. Like you're saying, like the people that go out and make a promise, but there's nothing legal.
Right. And you know, we got to get rid of that word commitment too, because think of it this way. We use the same word when we put somebody in a mental institution. Committing them. They are, so it's not a commitment. It's not even a promise. It's just in the moment, you are the person I'm choosing to be with. And like Bianca said too, we will both recognize when this contract has come to completion, and we can both move on, and we'll move on in a way where we're both so grateful for what we received from each other. And we know that now we're free to go do, and not that we're not free, but you know, the 5D relationship, you should always feel free within it. Every minute of it, you know, and we're in transition to that right now, right? Like we're not there yet. Nobody is in a fully up 5D relationship yet. But, you know, we're definitely on the fast track. Like I always like to refer to, if you guys know Mario Kart, those little parts of the path that launch you faster, we're like on that, and we can't get off. Like we are so on that speed path, right? And we're not getting off it anytime soon. So the people mover is like on high speed. And going the wrong, like sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Like whenever I play with my kids, I'm like, how did I get going backwards? You got to flip around, and it can really throw you for a loop. But yeah, we're on that fast track now, and it's really going to come fast, and we're going to be figuring it out fast. But again, it's you know, that transition, I always picture it. They always show it to me as Well, you know, Eartha, because you're a scientist, I always think of like flatworms when they asexually reproduce. And if you look at them under a microscope, how traumatic that looks as they're splitting apart, right? This is us splitting apart from the 3D, right? And you know, just kind of trying, we're doing our best, right, to let go. But like I said, I feel like a lot of it is kind of being pried out of our hands because we just don't know. We're in a lot of fear still, and we're afraid of what we'll be without these things that have held us down up until now. And we used to, that made us feel safe. Now it's feeling heavy and cumbersome, and we don't want it anymore. And even just my husband and I were talking about our relationship this morning too, is I said, you know, we're letting go of our old 3D relationship because it, as good as it was for as long as it was, it started to feel heavy. It started to feel like a burden. And so, and both of us being aware of that is huge, absolutely huge. And you know what, no matter what, whether we stay together or not, we're going to have a 5D relationship. Because we're on that
you're already
path.
In one.
Sure. Yeah. Just being aware of it is huge. And just the way we talk to each other now is just like I said, overnight is just shifted, and it's beautiful. And that's how I know it's going to happen fast for everybody, you know, in a lot of ways. And even if you're not in a romantic relationship right now, you know, the relationships that are closest to you, that are most important to you, are really going to start shifting, even with those people who you have traveled this ascension with. Like, you know, even our relationships with each other, the three of us, are going to shift big time. You know, we're not going to be completely, like Eartha and I have discovered, because we've known each other a while now, we're not always in perfect alignment.
Right.
But so far we've continued to come back around. So, and you know, we know how this works. People come in and they go, and we have to be okay with that too. But you know, it's more of the being grateful when you find them again versus needing them to come back. Yeah. Do we want to, anybody want to say do we have any good wrap up messages?
What are the major things that we talked about were the differences, right? So can we could kind of list them. Recap, like we said, the always feeling free is a difference, right? Huge, like versus feeling trapped or heavy. It feeling light instead of heavy, right? Choosing instead of I guess just taking what is given to you, I guess would be the opposite of that, right? Choosing every moment. What else, Bianca? You had one that was really good and I can't remember.
It shouldn't feel like an obligation or responsibility. Sorry.
I feel that, and this is quite huge as well. Like, you know, do I need it or do I choose it?
Oh yeah, needing or choosing. That's what it was. Yeah.
That's a beautiful distinction, because that's huge. That's huge, because we've spent our whole lives needing everything that we, you know, attained, and everything, even down to the daily tasks, everything becomes a have to. Everybody has a to-do list, right? The to-do list thing is still huge in the energy. Oh, we have all these have tos. And it's almost like an unwritten rule that you're supposed to hate those things. They're supposed to feel heavy, and and you know what I've noticed in just a little bit, just the path that I've traveled so far, is I used to absolutely loathe housework. And I have, you know, a lot of like ancestral trauma about that I've dealt with. But now I'm like, I'm doing dishes at like midnight, and it's like a zen. It like feels so zen to me as I'm cleaning my kitchen from top to bottom. It's a really great feeling now, because it's like a meditation versus, I have to do this. And, you know, I used to tell myself, well, I have to do it at this time. And now I'm like, you know what? Midnight, 1 o'clock the next morning, who cares? Like, it's not a big deal anymore. So,
and that's the good takeaway. That's the good lesson, Wendy, is that that we can remember, right? So when everybody who's listening to this, like, we know you're going through the shit, because we're all going through it.
We are.
And we just need to remember that this is the only moment that exists. There is no past and there is no future. And we are just here now.
Yep.
And so just do what you want to do right now.
Yes. So, and if it's between,
and try to anyway.
Right. Try to. And if it's between, you know, I have to, if it's between I have an hour, I can go for a walk, or I can clean the house, which obviously whichever one feels lighter and whichever one is going to feed your soul, choose that one. But, I'm still guilty of choosing the house,
cleaning the house.
chores. Yeah, sure. Sometimes it is. If you'll feel a lot better knowing that the house is clean. Yep.
Yeah. You know what cleaning the house does? It clears your energy. It takes away a lot of, guilt or just stagnant. It's stagnant energy that you're clearing out of your house anyway, right?
True.
So yeah, clean your house.
Absolutely.
Clean that house,
and don't
everybody.
beat yourself up about it. Bianca, did you have anything else? I'm trying to think of anything else we can wrap up.
Stay true to yourself. Like, don't try and squeeze into a relationship. Like when you feel that you are evolving and you feel like you have to squeeze yourself to fit into the relationship,
right?
Then it's
that's a
time
good
to
point.
either reshape the relationship, right? It doesn't mean you have to let go. It just means it's time to have this really honest conversation. Are we reshaping this together because it doesn't fit me anymore, or are we dissolving this? And even with dissolving, I love what you said before, Wendy. We're letting go of the traumatic split where we are saying, I hate you and I'm never going to see you again.
Right.
And we're
the
moving
classic
into
divorce story, right? Yeah. We're letting go of all of that.
And we're moving the romantic partnership towards it may even be a new term, or just towards a friendship, right? Because it's still a companion, even though it may not be your husband or your romantic relationship partner anymore. It can still be a friend or a companion of some sort, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. And it should be the type of relationship where, and I think we've talked about this before, because we, the three of us chat a lot, and hopefully we'll be doing a lot more of these, but we've talked about this before where, 5D relationships also should look like you're going to have your own things going on, and you should be able to, say, okay, I'm going to go do this for the next 2 months. And they should say, great, I'll see you in 2 months. Do you know what I mean? And because they have their own thing going on too. And again, we're not there yet. Like we're working this is what we're working toward. Everybody is still kind of discovering their missions, and especially with, in heterosexual relationships, right? So many of us women are way ahead. The men are working on it, right? They're starting to wake up, and there are a lot of beautiful men out there now, divine masculine, who are sharing their stories, which is great. I think that's super important. If there are any men listening and this is resonating, please share your stories. Go get out there somewhere and put yourself out there, because other men really need to know that they're not alone right now.
Yes.
That's huge.
Men,
because we really want you guys to catch up. Even though it's not about that. Yes, my goodness gracious. So so I think that's good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are we good? Thank you everybody for listening.
Let us know in the comments what you think about
and let us know if you want us to do any specific topics. We could do just about anything. And we will have other members
for personal coaching. All three of us do that.
Three of us.
We'll put our info in the comments, and if you resonate with any of us and want some more guidance, then we can also do that for you.
Absolutely. And you'll see different people kind of cycle in and out of these, as we have quite a few members in our beautiful Divine Feminine Ascension Council. So it's whoever feels called to show up for these, will be exactly what it's meant to be. So
okay,
thank you, ladies.
I need to do some light language for you guys. Sorry.
No, wonderful.
I know.
Let's
forgot about and then I'm getting pushed. I'm like, go away.
Eartha's channeling.
I'm like, no, I'm not going to do
let's
it.
Let's end. I'm in
a public place.
Oh, well.
Yeah, we'll end on it.
Yeah, do that, and we will end on that. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Hello, everyone in Iowa. All right, so this is going to be a quick light language activation. This is coming from the Pleiadians. So if you guys are familiar with the Pleiadian, they're a Pleiadian star council. They're saying right now, light council, star council. They want me to use the word star. And they are here all the time, they say. They're here with us a lot these days, because everyone in the universe is very excited about what's happening on Earth. So this is just a little activation for your sovereignty. That's what they're saying. So the collective needs some help boosting our sovereignty within relationships. So if you want to take a couple deep breaths, we'll get into this, and then you can open yourself, tell yourself and tell the universe that you're open to receive this activation, and you shall receive it. Here we go. Mina is set and it's the idea. Then it's gonna it cannot et kadaka it's kanimis et kanayan is get it karakada et kada at ki eat ianazet. Saname the kana asel soda it kai it create kai sane and the sa it get it go to see ila. Down on my kai et ki said iro coach kodomika and the set national skate ki the ira it kade. Danos konomeda et karade et kaninis et konos what konomis et kana se et ki itkara. Danos on me ed I see and me ikai. And the kai in this gay. Adonai. Okay. Farewell, beautiful light beings.
Thanks, everyone. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.